Sometimes a man is just a wallet in the eyes of his own family. I used to laugh at sayings like that. Thought they came from bitter people who had failed to love deeply enough. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. I learned that lesson the hard way right after the accident that should have taken my life but instead gave me something much worse: clarity. My car was totaled. The world ended not with the dramatic soundtrack you expect: no screaming, no screeching tires, no slow-motion moment of cinematic heroism. Just glass shattering like tiny stars and the sharp chemical taste of airbag dust. It wasn't loud. It was clean, efficient, almost polite. That's how betrayal feels: too quiet, sharp, efficient. I remember what I was thinking just seconds before impact. Dinner. That's it. Just dinner. Rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, or drive-through tacos on the way home. And then impact. The kind that rearranges your spine and your sense of time. 1 second I was debating sauces, the next I was upside down, hanging from my seatbelt like a marionette whose strings had been cut but not yet fallen. My mind refused to process what my body already knew. Blood ran into my eye from a cut near my temple. I could taste metal. My chest refused to rise evenly, one rib screaming louder than the others. Through the cracked windshield, I saw a stop sign glowing red in the night, bent like it had been laughing at me. Someone opened the door. A man's voice, steady, calm, trained for panic. "Can you hear me?" The words echoed inside the helmet of my skull. I nodded, or maybe just thought I did. Everything after that dissolved: sirens, shouting, hands pulling, cold air slicing through the smell of gasoline. Then, nothing but the hospital. White walls, yellow light, the antiseptic smell of effort. The kind of place where time slows down just to punish you for being alive. When I woke fully, my mouth was dry, my shoulder heavy, and the beeping beside my ear had its own heartbeat. A nurse smiled, the kind of smile people practice in mirrors. "You're very lucky, Mr. Crane," she said, like luck was something you could pick up from the floor. 2 broken ribs, a dislocated shoulder, a mild concussion. Mild, that word didn't match the fire under my skin. I couldn't lift a cup of water without shaking, but sure mild. They told me I was lucky. And maybe I was. I was still breathing. But lying there, under the pale hum of the fluorescent lights, I started to feel something darker than pain. It wasn't anger. It was emptiness. Because the one thing louder than the machines was the silence from my phone. After they moved me from the ER to a regular room, I kept staring at that phone. I told myself I'd give it an hour. Then 2. Then I stopped counting. Someone had to know by now. News travels fast in families, especially mine. My mom knew everyone in town. My dad was the guy people called for advice, even when he never followed his own. And Carly, my sister, she couldn't go 5 hours without posting an update about her breakfast, her nails, her mood. Surely, someone had noticed. But no one came. The nurse changed my 4. The janitor mopped. The world rotated quietly outside that tiny square window. 2 full days passed. The phone sat there like a tombstone, flat, cold, indifferent. Not a call. Not a message. Not even a spam notification pretending to care. On the second night, I couldn't take it anymore. I reached for it with my good arm. The screen lit up, a small miracle in a dead room. 27 unread messages. For one stupid heartbeat, my chest warmed. Maybe they'd heard. Maybe they were worried. Maybe someone still noticed when I disappeared. Then I opened the first photo. Carly. White robe. Champagne glass raised, peace sign up. Caption: spa time, baby. Next photo: sauna, steam, green clay mask. Next, sushi rolls on a marble table. Next, her feet submerged in rose petals. Each post more oblivious than the last. Mom had commented under every single one. "So cute. You deserve it, sweetie." Heart emojis in rows. Dad, the minimalist, dropped a few thumbs-up reactions like silent confetti. Not one message asking, "Where's Philip?" Not one text saying, "Are you okay?" Not one second thought about the fact that I'd gone quiet. It's strange how fast realization can feel like gravity. I stared at those photos until the screen blurred. That was when I understood something that had been hiding behind all those years of generosity and fake gratitude. I was useful, not loved. Convenient, not missed. When the nurse came for the morning check, I told her I was fine to go home. She said I'd need someone to pick me up. I said I'd call a car. I didn't even pretend otherwise. So there I was, walking out of the hospital in a hoodie thrown over my gown because I couldn't raise my arm high enough to change my clothes. The cold morning air hit me like a truth I didn't ask for. I waited outside for nearly an hour for a rideshare that smelled like stale coffee and fake pine. The driver asked if I was all right. I lied. Yeah, just a rough week. He nodded like people do when they sense a story too heavy for small talk. When I got home, I slept through the afternoon still in that gown, still bandaged, still sore. I thought I'd feel relief. I didn't. I felt like a ghost haunting his own life. The next morning, my phone lit up again. 64 missed calls. Most from Dad. A few from Carly. One from Mom. No texts explaining, "No, hope you're okay," just a single message at the top. "Call us back now. It's serious." So I did. The line barely rang before Dad picked up. His voice wasn't angry yet, it was worried, but not about me. He spoke too fast, words tumbling over panic. Something about accounts being frozen, Carly's rent not going through, Mom's card getting declined. And that was the moment I understood. They didn't know. They hadn't checked. They hadn't cared. And now, they needed me again. Dad's voice hit my ear before the first ring even finished. He didn't start with, "Are you okay?" Or, "Where have you been?" He went straight to panic, his favorite language. "Philip, something's wrong with the bank. Carly's card was declined at dinner. Your mother's transfer didn't go through. The accounts are frozen. We've been trying to reach you for 2 days." His words tumbled like dominoes, desperate to knock me into action. That tone, half command, half expectation, used to trigger me like muscle memory. The fixer. The family lifeline. But this time, something inside me stayed still. Calm. Cold. Tired. "There's no mistake, Dad," I said. I froze them. Silence. Not the kind that's empty. The kind that listens. On the other end, I heard his breath catch. I could picture him standing in the kitchen, pacing in that faded gray t-shirt, staring at my mother for backup that wouldn't come. "What do you mean, you froze them?" His voice cracked, almost boyish. "Why would you do something like that?" I looked at my reflection in the dark window, hospital gown still half under my hoodie, bandage on my temple, the ghost of an 4 mark on my hand. "I had an accident, Dad," I said slowly, evenly. 4 days ago. The car flipped. 2 broken ribs. Dislocated shoulder. I was in the hospital for 3 nights. I paused. "While you were all at the spa." The silence that followed wasn't shock. It was calculation. They were trying to rewrite the moment before it even landed. I heard muffled movement, Mom whispering in the background, maybe asking if I was exaggerating. "Philip," Dad said carefully, "if we had known, of course we would've." "You didn't ask," I cut in. "You didn't even notice I was gone." My words came out sharper than I expected, but not loud. They didn't need volume to cut. Truth is a quiet blade. Mom's voice broke through the speaker, sharp, high-pitched, rehearsed. "You can't blame us for not knowing, honey. You didn't text anyone." "I couldn't," I said. "I was unconscious." Her breath hitched, but I could tell she wasn't feeling guilt. Just inconvenience. Dad jumped in like a referee, son, don't make this bigger than it is. We're family. I laughed. A sound with no joy in it. That's the thing, Dad. You keep saying family, but what you mean is access. What's that supposed to mean? It means every time you needed something, you called. When I needed something, even if it was just to be noticed, you didn't. I let that hang in the air, heavy and ugly. I imagined him pinching the bridge of his nose, the way he always did when he couldn't win an argument but still wanted control. Philip, he said finally, softer now, Carly's been under pressure lately. She's had a rough year. The spa weekend was meant to help her relax. I couldn't help it. I actually laughed out loud this time. So my accident didn't fit your relaxation schedule? Don't be cruel, he said, voice trembling between anger and embarrassment. Cruel. That word stung more than it should have. I had spent years paying their bills, fixing their mistakes, covering their debts, and now, drawing a boundary was cruel? If kindness was measured in money, I'd already built a cathedral. But they'd lived in it so long, they forgot who paid for the foundation. No, Dad, I said quietly. Cruel is leaving your son in a hospital bed without a text. Cruel is sipping champagne while the person funding your life is lying under morphine. Cruel is pretending that silence is love. He didn't answer. I think, deep down, he knew I was right. And maybe that's why he hated hearing it. For a moment, the only sound was static. Then he sighed, long and defeated. What are you trying to do, Philip? Punish us? Destroy the family? No, I said. I'm setting the family free. From me. There was a pause. Then, in that old commanding tone he used when I was a kid, he said, Son, don't hang up on me. Click. I hung up. And just like that, it was over. No shouting, no tears, no closure. Just the sound of a boundary finally locking into place after decades of being left open. That night, I sat in the dim light of my living room, the hospital smell still clinging to my skin, and opened my laptop. Every tab I clicked was a memory. Joint accounts. Auto payments. Linked cards. Carly's rent transfers, Mom's streaming subscriptions, Dad's car insurance. It wasn't finances, it was an ecosystem. And I'd been its oxygen. I started closing tabs one by one. Click. Close. Click. Close. The sound became rhythmic, therapeutic. Every confirmation message felt like reclaiming a heartbeat. When the screen finally went dark, I sat back and exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. The next morning, chaos began. Carly's name lit up my phone like a strobe light. My card isn't working. Did you forget to pay something? Philip, call me, this isn't funny. I can't get into my bank account. By noon, Shed sent 8 messages, 2 voicemails, and 1 half-hearted apology disguised as guilt. You're mad at me, aren't you? Because of the spa. Come on, Phil, don't be dramatic. I didn't answer. Mom texted next. Something weird's happening with the bank. Can you fix it, sweetheart? No greeting. No how are you feeling? Just like always, straight to logistics. I ignored it too. By evening, Dad's message arrived, short and stern. You're taking this too far. I smiled faintly at the irony. They had taken everything too far, my patience, my wallet, my silence. I was just taking it back. Day 2, the tone shifted. Carly's texts turned frantic. The landlord says my payment bounced. Are you serious right now? I'm getting late fees. What did you do, Philip? You're ruining my life. I didn't respond. She called 7 times. I watched the phone light up on the table like a fire alarm I refused to touch. Eventually it stopped. Then came Dad's voicemail. He didn't yell this time. His voice was lower, almost pleading. Son, I get that you're upset. But freezing everything? That's extreme. Carly made a mistake, your mom's distracted, you know how they are. You've always been the strong one. We need you to come through again. There it was, that word again. Need. Not want. Not miss. Just need. I let the message play to the end, then deleted it. For years, I'd mistaken usefulness for love. Now I finally knew the difference. That night, I opened my laptop again, not to help, but to finish. I made a spreadsheet. Every shared bill, every loan, every forgotten subscription. Rows and columns of quiet servitude. It looked like my life in data form: neat, consistent, obedient. Then I hit cancel on every single one. No fireworks. No satisfaction. Just peace. It was the sound of a man reclaiming ownership of his own breath. By the time I closed the lid, I realized something. I didn't feel angry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt free. And freedom, I learned that night, doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just clicks, account closed, and lets the silence speak for itself. By the end of that week, the noise had quieted, but not because they'd found peace. It was the kind of quiet that follows a storm, heavy with debris and unsaid words. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel obligated to clean it up. Then, on Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. It wasn't a text, not a call, an actual ring. The sound startled me. Nobody ever visited me unannounced. I looked through the peephole. Carly. She was standing in the cold, wrapped in a coat that looked too expensive for someone claiming she was broke. Her makeup was smudged, her hands trembling, not from the weather, but from frustration. She rang again, 3 sharp presses, impatient. I didn't move. I watched her from behind the door as she typed something furiously on her phone. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. I just want to talk. Please, Philip. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That was all it ever took for her to twist things, to make herself the victim, to drain the guilt out of me like venom from a wound she caused. Not this time. I stayed silent. 10 minutes passed. Then I heard the car door slam, the engine start, and her tires screech away. That was the first time I'd ever let Carly walk away without fixing something for her. And it felt like therapy. The next day, I woke to an email from my bank. Subject line, suspicious activity detected. I opened it, half expecting it to be spam. But it wasn't. A $900 transfer attempt had been made from one of my old backup accounts I hadn't used in years. Recipient, Carly's old Venmo handle. Time, 2:43 a.m. I just sat there staring at the screen. It wasn't shock. It wasn't even anger. It was confirmation. She'd remembered that old account. She'd gone looking for it, like a scavenger digging through the ashes of what used to be my trust. She'd tried to take what wasn't hers again. The bank automatically blocked the transfer. I didn't even have to lift a finger. For once, the system that had enslaved me was protecting me. Poetic, in a way. I called the bank just to make it official. The agent sounded concerned, too polite for 9 a.m. Would you like to report it as fraud, Mr. Crane? I hesitated, then said quietly, not yet. Just document it. Understood. Well, flag her name and device in the system. If she tries again, well, initiate legal action automatically. Legal action. That phrase rolled off her tongue so easily. It felt strange hearing it used for me, not against me. After hanging up, I sat in silence for a long while. The apartment was still, sunlight creeping through half-closed blinds, dust floating like snow. It was so peaceful that I could almost forget what peace used to cost me. Then my phone buzzed again. Mom. A text this time. Can we please talk like adults? The way you're handling this is unnecessary. Your family, Philip. Let's fix this. No mention of the hospital. No apology. Just a polished guilt trip, wrapped in politeness. The same emotional bait Shed used for years. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and started archiving. Screenshots of texts. The voicemail from Dad. Carly's messages. The transfer alert. I stored them all neatly in a folder labeled Record. It wasn't revenge, it was insurance. Proof that, for once, I wasn't crazy. Days passed in that strange, quiet rhythm. Carly's name disappeared from my phone entirely. No calls, no messages. Not even a fake apology. But she wasn't gone. Not really. She'd just gone underground where people like her do their best work. One afternoon, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. No return address, just my name in elegant handwriting I hadn't seen since childhood. Mom's. Inside were 3 neatly folded pages. Her handwriting was perfect, like always slanted, graceful, controlled. Each word was a performance. Philip, my dear son, I hope this letter finds you well. I know things have gotten tense between us. Families go through storms. But you've always been our hero, our rock. Please don't turn your back on us now. I flipped the page. Carly is struggling. She made mistakes, yes, but she's trying. We just need a little help to get back on our feet. A small loan, something temporary, until things settle. You've always been the responsible one, the generous one. Then came the attachments. A screenshot of Carly's bank account, negative balance, minus $418.72. A printed credit card statement showing nearly $3,000 in designer purchases, restaurant bills, and of course a spa membership renewal she forgot to cancel. And at the bottom, a contract. Typed. Signed by Carly. Title, Loan Agreement. Interest rate. Payment schedule. Signature lines. Even a space for a witness. They hadn't just asked me for help. They'd turned it into a business transaction. They were willing to legally bind me to protect themselves from me. I laughed. Out loud. Not from humor, but from disbelief so heavy it felt hysterical. After all these years, after everything I'd done, this was who they saw me as. Not a brother, not a son, an institution. A bank. That laughter slowly died, replaced by something colder than anger. Resolve. I put the papers back in the envelope and placed it on the table. Didn't tear it, didn't burn it. Just left it there, as evidence of what love had turned into. That night, another knock at the door. Louder this time. Persistent. Through the peephole, Josh. Carly's ex. He looked uncomfortable, like a man forced to deliver bad news he didn't sign up for. Carly gave me your address, he said, eyes darting. She told me you're having some kind of breakdown. That you cut everyone off and she's worried. I let out a breath. Of course. The narrative had started. She's living with my mom now, he added quickly. They've been telling people you lost it, that you're unstable. That you snapped after a small family disagreement. I stared at him. And you believe that? He shook his head. Not really. I just wanted to hear your side. So I told him. Everything. The crash. The hospital. The silence. The spa. The accounts. The fraud attempt. He listened without interrupting. His face changed, not shocked, just disappointed. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. It all makes sense now. He left quietly, and for a second I thought maybe that was it. But the next morning, my phone buzzed again. A message from Josh. A screenshot. My mother's Facebook post. Please keep our family in your prayers. Some people lash out when they're hurting. We're trying to stay strong through a very difficult time. Dozens of comments below. You're such a strong woman. Sending love. Stay positive, Mama. And there it was. They hadn't just ignored me. They'd rewritten me. I didn't get angry. I got ready. I opened my record folder and added more. The group chat screenshots. The letter. The contract. The Facebook post. Then I sent all of it to Dad. No message, no caption. Just the truth. Hours later, he replied with 6 words. I didn't know. I see it now. I'm sorry. Short. Honest. Maybe real. But I didn't respond. Because this time, my silence wasn't weakness. It was the closing of a book that should have ended years ago. 2 days later, I got an email from Carly's landlord. Short. Cold. Legal. Tenant has failed to pay rent. Eviction proceedings will begin in 5 days. I read it twice, not out of disbelief, but habit. I used to jump into action when things like this arrived: transfer money, make calls, fix chaos. This time, I just closed the laptop. It wasn't cruelty. It was closure. That night, Josh texted again. I stopped by your mom's place. Carly's a wreck. They had a fight. Cops came. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. The image was clear in my mind: my mom pacing, my sister crying, the perfect little empire cracking from the inside. Not because of me. Because I stopped holding it up. A few days later, another envelope slid under my door. No stamp, no note. Inside, a single printed screenshot. Carly's old Venmo account, another failed transfer attempt, $900 again. The last try of a desperate person still believing I'd flinch. I didn't. The next morning, I went to the bank, filled out a fraud report, and left it at that. No anger, no sadness, just documentation. After that, I shut everything down. Phone. Email. Socials. Group chat. Every door, every window they used to reach through. Locked. And then, the strangest thing happened: silence. Not the lonely kind. The kind that hums with peace. The first real quiet of my adult life. Days turned into weeks. No calls, no messages, no apologies. Only updates through other people: Carly's car repossessed, her apartment gone, her posts deleted. Mom pretending on Facebook again, posting quotes about forgiveness and broken families. Forgive what, though? That I finally said no? Dad stayed silent. And for once, that silence didn't feel empty. It felt like understanding. 2 months later, I moved. New apartment. New number. New city. No forwarding address. No ghosts. That first night, I looked out my window, lights of the city glowing like quiet constellations. And for the first time, I saw myself clearly. Not an ATM. Not a backup plan. Not a strong one. Just Philip Crane. A man who walked through fire and finally stopped apologizing for leaving the smoke behind. Sometimes the heaviest thing a man carries isn't debt or duty, it's the illusion that love must always mean sacrifice. I carried that weight for years. And now, it's gone. My phone doesn't buzz anymore. My mind doesn't race. The silence is no longer punishment, it's peace. They lost the money. I found myself. And if you're listening to this, wondering if cutting people off makes you heartless, trust me, it doesn't. It just means you finally remembered your own worth.